Happy Wednesday evening, everybody, and welcome into the Graham and Mac Lane podcast presented by Ingles. Mac, we've never really done this before. It's not because we're lazy. It's not because we forgot to record the episode this week. It's because we were so excited to have Clemson freshman phenom Bryant Wesco on the podcast, and we had to work around his schedule. He's a very busy man, very important. Got to get his studies in. We love that. So we had to work around his schedule and do the interview on Wednesday. That's why we're releasing it this afternoon. But so excited to talk with Bryant Wesco and talk some Clemson NC State, Mac.
Come on. This is a whole new world. As you said, good evening, everybody. Great to see you. And you could be watching this. Who knows when you're watching it? Maybe at night, maybe the next morning. But this is weird. It felt weird not recording on Monday or Tuesday. Here we are, rolling into the thick of Wednesday, and we're going full speed ahead. But yeah, big shout out to Ross Taylor for making this happen. Big shout out to Bryant for his time, and just excited to jump in and talk to this young freshman phenom. It's funny, KG. Preseason and even after the first game, we're just sitting there like, gotta play 12, get in the game.
Where is
One,
he?
get in the game. We got to see this. We got to see these guys take it up a notch, and surely they did. Very, very impressive. You guys are going to love this interview. Just to go in his mind and hear what was it like? What was that first game like as a starter? All the above. So really quickly, a message from our friends over at Ingles, and then we are going to jump straight into this interview.
Did you know Ingles only sells USDA Choice and Prime cuts of meat? Maybe it's time to reward yourself. Our butchers cut all our meat fresh in the store every day. Grass-fed, organic, you name it. Not only that, we'll even cut it to order just the way you like it. And we grind meat fresh in the store multiple times a day. It's all in the bag. That's the best meat in town for the best folks in town. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Bryant Wesco, my man, great to see you. I'm sure it has been quite a whirlwind since you got your first start there, and it's been very fun just to see it and to see the things that you're able to do. I've got to tell you a little inside information. I have been yelling and screaming for number 12 to get on the field for a long time. Glad it took just one game. But tell us just a little bit, man, about getting your first start in the Valley, night game, and just what all went into that.
It was a crazy experience, first game. Going in, we were all like knowing that it was going to be a dogfight first, or we were all hoping we all knowing it was going to be a dogfight, and so we went out there, knowing that we had to, make a statement first play. And so being able to, get the ball on offense first drive and then go score first drive. And then my score being on the first drive of my first start off of my first catch was a crazy experience. And so running into that student section, I kind of blacked out, so I couldn't really get the whole experience of it. But going in, looking at that replay and looking at how the crowd reacted and just, just seeing the whole thing on replay, it was a crazy experience.
I think a lot of Clemson fans blacked out, Bryant, when that happened. Speaking for, people I was with or whatever. I think Mac maybe blacked out and he was in the stadium.
Can't confirm.
Yeah, it was electric. It was electric to watch. And there's so many questions we want to ask you about it. But just overall, from that App State game, what do you feel like you learned about yourself? But also, what do you feel like this offense learned from that App State performance?
Yeah, so about myself, I learned that, whenever I'm focused on, my job and I just do what I'm, what the team needs me to do, I could make those plays and, it helps build confidence. But I know that the confidence shouldn't be from, the opponents that we play and stuff like that. But I think as a team, we found out that when we're focused on the details and we, don't make the mental mistakes that we did against Georgia, we could be one of the best teams in the country on offense.
I love that, man. And I think it's, it's fun to see that. And it's fun to see a team get confident. And as you said, all it took was one deep shot, and it felt like the wheels were rolling. It felt like everybody was going. I do want to dive back into that play. Were you the first read? Did you know kind of pre-snap, hey, if I get past this guy, like ball's coming to me?
Yeah, so it was kind of like, I just ran go and basically none of them drops. So I was just like, hold on, let me look back right now. And I saw Cade loading up to throw it. And then when he threw it, there was a single high safety running towards me. And so I was like, hold up, he might pick this off. So I kind of slowed down to try and jump for it. But then at last second, his angle kind of like
Right.
off. So I was like, oh, this is a touchdown right here. So I just caught that and just, as soon as I caught it, the crowd just went crazy. I think that's when I blacked out. That's when when the crowd got so loud, I just I didn't know what was happening after that. So I just ran.
Yeah.
And then that's all I remember.
And hit him with the celly, hit him with the
Yeah.
gladiator celly, just sitting there, arms up wide open. I got to tell you, very similar experience for me because I know you didn't see me, but so I'm in the end zone where you scored, just watching you down on the field. And when I saw exactly what you did, nobody dropped. I'm like, oh man, please be looking at this guy. And then very similarly, I saw that safety coming. So I was like, okay, we're about to see, how good 12 is and what he can do. And man, just the body control to stay up. I mean, it was kind of a weird, kind of catch where he's down below you and then you kept your feet and walked right in there. And when you hit that celebration, I'm just like, here we go. It's time. It's time to roll. What do you think that did for your quarterback, man? Just to have a deep threat, to have a guy like yourself, and I'm sure others can, and hopefully we continue to see that, but to take the top off of a defense, what does that do for your quarterback?
It gives him some, confidence to know that not only can he have someone to throw to, but knowing that, he can make those passes. I think that, he's was like 24 for 26 on like multiple deep passes that game. And that was, I think, a crazy stat for Cade and a crazy, way for him to go about his, game that day. And so being able to, I felt like that one play was able to give him that confidence to know that those passes he can make and he will make for me and other receivers on that team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what we remember your celebration, but I also remember Cade celebrating a lot when that hit, because that's been a piece of the offense that's kind of been missing, whether it's, the wide receiver aspect or the quarterback aspect. No one, obviously those are so related. But can you tell us more about your relationship with Cade, both Texas guys, by the way? Maybe we'll talk some food later because I know you're probably missing some of that, but I get it. But what's your relationship with Cade? And how has it grown since spring ball to now to basically that big play?
Mm-hmm. So me and Kay, we'll try and, my school being smaller, he'll be like, my school will beat your school. I'm like, no. Knowing in the back of my head, his school will destroy mine. But, I got to stand my ground. But, we bonded pretty quickly early on. He's a pretty funny guy, great personality. And so I like being around him. And, he'll take the receivers out to dinner sometimes. And some of the other teammates will not take us out, but invite us out with him. And so we'll hang out a lot, I'll see him in the hallways at class, see him in the buildings, say what's up, talk to him a little bit. But yeah, we're building a great bond. And, he's a great friend. More than just
let's go a little bit more into just, you as a player. And I mean, starting as a freshman is a big deal. It's very difficult to do. What did that feel like? I guess when coach told you that you were going to be starting that game and I assume the rest of the year, were you nervous? Were you excited? What was kind of the emotions when you found that out?
So for me, it was a bit more of nervous and excitement, going in. I know that our situations is all spots are open week by week, game progress, showing results, all spots are open. So I know that if I don't pull out the results that they're hoping for, I won't be, starting at, no spots permanent here, basically. So I know that if I don't pull out the results, I won't be starting that next game, or I'll, need to earn that trust back to be able to start that next game.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited at the moment when he told me, nervous at the moment, but I knew that I got to do the job that they brought me here to do. So I made sure that I would work that week, knowing that I was working, since January, but I knew that I got to put a different edge to myself, knowing that this is like the time that I've been working for. And so I've had to make sure I made it count. Made all the
and then I guess just after the touchdown, was it like so relieving, when you had, once you came back and you're sitting on the sideline, was it just kind of like, okay, like this is football. I've been doing this my whole life. Let's go.
Yeah, it was a relieving thing. I was like, yep, this is what I worked to do, but I knew it wasn't over. So I had to go do it again.
Love that. Love that mindset. Well, Bryant, you mentioned you and Cade both from Texas, kind of talking some trash, with your different schools, but you are from Texas. You're from south of Dallas. And basically you could have gone anywhere 5-star guy, probably anywhere in Texas. What was it about Clemson that made you want to come out here and kind of take that leap of faith?
Basically, Clemson to me as a school was more about football, was more than football. Every other school, they talk about football, NIL, but Clemson would have been the one school I picked that I wouldn't have picked just for football. I would have picked the school for, the community around it, the school. It was just one of those things where, I get more out of it than just, a football player. become like I learned how to be a student, a good student. I learned how to be, how to take interviews, how to, I keep forgetting what that word is called, man, where you go out to a job for a little bit. I keep forgetting what.
Job shadow,
little internships.
I just heard it. I don't know why I keep forgetting it, but yeah, internships, they just, like this shirt says, life right now, just helping us, be the best overall person.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's a great decision. Obviously, we attest to that. We believe in it, in things that we did there. How about moving forward, man? What does the rest of the season look like for you? Again, as a true freshman starting, and just, did you have any goals for yourself? Was there anything laid out there, kind of for the rest of the year, the rest of the way?
For myself, I just hope to, play my best to where we can, achieve our team goals and be able to, get to the national championship, win the league. Just those team goals we had, nothing I do really matters at the moment if we don't achieve those goals right now. And so I'm just making sure that, I have some individual goals. I hope to be like freshman All-American, certain amount of yards, X amount of touchdowns. But I just hope that, one overall, we could just win this thing out and, prove who Clemson is and who we were always were.
Well, we're excited to watch it, Bryant. We're excited for this game this weekend against NC State. Have you, I know it's only Wednesday, but been watching film on NC State, getting ready for their defense. Is there anything specifically you can share that you've seen from their defense?
They got a lot of they have physical corners, tall, lanky, heavy, and knowing that they'll be, playing. I think one of their corners hasn't given up a touchdown in a few years. And so knowing that, he's probably one of the better corners in the league, but knowing that the corners that I play against now, at practice, they'll set up a good, learning ground. I think AV is one of the best corners in the nation, the best corner in the nation. And so going up against him every day, lining up against him every day, it prepares me a lot. And I know that, they got good DBs. They react fast, come down fast. And so we'll just be able to be, shots and just taking, run game over.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt, man. They are a physical defense, great defense, and have a history of giving teams fit. How do you approach the game, I guess, when you have those physical corners? Because every guy's different, right? Maybe a bigger guy or a faster guy or better in zone, better in man. When you have a team that is physical, like you just said, what's the point of emphasis for you getting off the line, staying, quicker with your route? What does that look like from a receiver point of view?
Yeah, so really with physical DBs, you just got to be able to play with your hands, knowing that they're going to try and jam you with their hands. You got to be able to be ready and knock their hands away and make sure that, you could not only run by them, but make sure that they don't hold you or try and grab you. So being able to be physical back to them is the main emphasis that we got because, can't beat a physical DB if you're not physical yourself. But,
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, I want to ask a fun question before we get out of here. I alluded to the food earlier, Bryant, so I understand you're probably missing the Tex-Mex. I get it. Is that the main thing you miss? And then question 2, if we want to discuss a business opportunity of you and I maybe use some of those NIL dollars, we open a Torchy's somewhere in the upstate, I'd be down. We'll talk. But what food do you miss the most? That's my question.
I'm not going to lie, I do miss Torchy's. I was one of the hitters back. But, yeah, the Tex-Mex is good. I don't think they got a Campuzano's down here.
Yeah.
That's what I really miss right now.
Yeah, that sounds killer.
Yeah.
We'll talk afterwards, Bryant. We need to make something happen because
that's right.
The barbecue's still great. Like, it's a little different. It's still great. The Tex-Mex is what we need. Yeah. All right. You get it.
What's the take on barbecue? You were about to say something. I need to hear that.
I'm not gonna lie, it is good. They got some good barbecue sauces down here. Like
Yeah.
there's this one place called Smoking Pig around the corner. That's pretty good.
Oh, never heard of it.
Yeah.
I need to try
Yeah.
it. I need to
Smoking
try
pig's
it.
a good one. It's a good
Yeah.
one. I agree.
Last one for you, man, and we'll get you out of here. I saw something that you said after the game where you expect to get the ball every time, the way you run your routes, the way you do your thing. Where does that mindset come from, and what does that mean, with the way that you're running your routes?
Well, that mindset comes from a lot of not running my routes to get the ball, and they throw me the ball, so I'm not ready for it. But it's just making sure that it's more than just about me getting the ball. If I run my route to get the ball, opens up another person, and so it's just more about than just me getting the ball, and knowing that if I do get the ball, I'll be running my route to where the quarterback has that good kind of good chemistry to know that he's running his route, he knows where to put it for me, but also open up other players on the field.
Yeah, there we go. Well, man, it was great seeing you. Great talking with you. And good luck the rest of the way, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Bryant Wesco for joining us here on the podcast. We really appreciate his time, Mac, and we need to get into this game. We're going to talk some Clemson, NC State from both sides. Before we do that, because we're going to use Underdog Fantasy to talk the game a little bit, because the numbers for this game, the different entries you can do, the higher lowers are really interesting. I think tell us a lot about how people think this game is going to go. But Underdog Fantasy, easiest place to play fantasy sports. Use our code G for Gramlich, M for Maclane, Pod for what you're listening to, and sign up now for $1,000 of bonus cash, up to $1,000. They have some great promos this week. If you also are interested in the NFL, on Thursday, they have a 30% profit boost token for Bills Dolphins, which could be very interesting. On Friday, you open your app, there's going to be a special surprise promo. I love surprises. That's going to be fun. Saturday, discount the dogs. No, we don't know. Saturday, discount the dogs, which I love that they do this. It's any dog-related college football, so the Georgia Bulldogs, the Washington Huskies, whatever, they have discounts on those games. So check that out, Underdog Fantasy, Mac. And when you look at the different options for Clemson, NC State here, there are quite a few that really draw the eye, I will say.
No, there are a ton. And I think what we should do, KG, let's just go through all of these, pick by pick, and let's kind of talk about what does it mean? What are we thinking? And I'm going to do this live. You guys are going to watch me do this live, make some
Watch
picks.
the winning picks.
I'll tell you what the multiplier. Yeah. Go opposite of what I do. Watch what KG does. But let's start. All right. So true freshman quarterback coming in the game, coming into Death Valley on the road. Not one of the most hostile environment in the ACC. One of the most in all of college football. It's not at night. Congratulations. It's not a night game. Dodged a bullet there. But what we're looking at here is higher, lower, half a touchdown. You only got to get one. You only have to get one. And it says higher, and it's a 0.83 multiplier. So they're actually thinking that's probably going to happen. That's probably likely. It's not even
one passing
it's not
touchdown.
Even yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll see. Rushing touchdown, that's a ×2 multiplier. So if you get one rushing or receiving touchdown, that's a ×2. 154 passing yards, higher, lower. We'll see.
It's a low number.
I'm going lower. Longest completion, 35.5 yards. I like that one too. Higher, lower, whichever way you kind of want to go on that one. Let's just start there. Of those numbers, KG, is one really interesting to you? Do you like one better? Where's your head?
Well, let's talk about the fact that NC State is most likely, I mean, I think it is happening, starting a true freshman quarterback in CJ Bailey at Clemson, a place they have not won since 2002. And by the way, Clemson is a 20.5-point favorite. Mac and I were both pretty shocked by that number.
That's a big number.
That's a big number. And the total's pretty low at 46.5, but it's at noon on ABC. When you look at CJ Bailey and these different options on Underdog, to pass for 154.5 yards, he passed for 156 in their win over La Tech. He was 13 of 20, had a pick. He also had a rushing touchdown. I think the play for CJ Bailey is actually the higher on the rushing touchdown. I think he will get a rushing touchdown. That's about all that I'm willing to say. I would
Okay.
probably go lower on the longest completion as well.
Mm-hmm.
But 154 passing yards is pretty low, Mac. I mean, I guess it comes back to the big question, just how good is this Clemson defense? Because yes, CJ
Right.
Bailey is a young guy, true freshman, all that. It's not like he's being thrown into the fire for the first time. He did play a
Correct.
good bit against La Tech. So I think that's helpful for Clemson. For NC State. And
Or
then
both.
the other question too, though, can Clemson slow down KC Concepcion? We'll get to some of his numbers and what's his status. How
Right.
banged up is he? He had 131 total yards and 2 touchdowns last year. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll find out a lot about the Clemson defense in this game, Mac.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at all. And if you do follow KG's advice and you go with the rushing touchdown, like I said, that is a ×2 multiplier. That's a big deal. Let's move to the other quarterback who is coming off of the greatest performance of his life, I guess, is the best way to describe that. Passing touchdowns, higher, lower than 2. So a big number there. Rushing touchdowns is a ×1.4 multiplier if you think he'll get more than 1, if you think he'll get higher than 1. Passing yards, 250, so 100 more passing yards than the freshman. Interceptions at a half there if he throws 1 pick, higher, lower, whichever way you want to go. And then longest completion, 40 yards. These to me they're nuts because obviously, you want to respect the NC State defense. 256 yards. Clearly, it's not even close to what he did last game, but this is better competition, so you would think. I just like the rushing touchdown. I think that is a piece of Clemson's offense, and it has been for a long, long time. Like quarterback runs, zone read down on the goal line. That's just what they're going to do. But I will say, NC State last year did a really good job of crashing down a defensive end and then looping. So you crash the defensive end. That's a pull read for your quarterback. But then there's a linebacker looping around for the quarterback. So they did a really good job of confusing Clemson last year. But I still think he finds a way to get in the end zone. I think I'm going rushing touchdown higher, lower than 1. I'm going higher.
I like that one, Mac. And I think, it comes down to overall with this game. Yes, I think we're going to learn something about the Clemson defense. Dabo Swinney he said he wasn't too pleased with how they've tackled, especially, I know they played a lot of guys against App, but that first unit, can they tackle better? Can they show up against this offense? But for me, so much of this game, because we begged for it against App State, and we got our wish, the Clemson offense exploded. Bryant Wesco, our guest today, big reason why. Was that an anomaly? Or is that what this offense is now? Right. That is my biggest question. And I think that will play into all these different things with Cade Klubnik, because prior to App State, if App State did not happen and you're playing NC State and all you have is the Georgia tape from this year and you see all these numbers, you're going lower, 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 lower. That's just the reality. That's the reality, Max. So I think this game is so fascinating because it's really going to prove, did you just catch lightning in a bottle? Did you just get hot? Was the app not very good? Or is this actually who you are? I'm so interested to see it. The one I would take, because of the guy we had on this podcast, which is weird because, like I said, if I had just seen Georgia, I would never take this in a million years. I would take higher than the longest completion. And it's not at 40.5 yards. It's not really because of Cade. It's because of this guy, Bryant Wesco.
Wow.
And TJ Moore, those options. And maybe even Antonio Williams, but feels like these wide receivers have a little more to prove. And Mac, that's kind of the part we're not really saying is NC State's won 2 of the last 3 against Clemson. And both of those, they won in Raleigh. They haven't won in Death Valley since 2002, like we said. Sorry to say that again, NC State fans. But NC State's kind of had Clemson's number. And I think, obviously the defense is taking a big step back for NC State. There's no Peyton Wilson out there. But they have been effective against Cade Klubnik, and they have been able to confuse him. How much has Cade Klubnik grown? That's my biggest question.
Yeah, and we'll see. It'll be fun. I think one thing of note that's interesting is App State did not rush Cade a bunch, right? If you went back and watched that game, a lot of 4-man pressure. I have to assume NC State is going to try to dial it up, going to try to make him make a decision quickly. But also, you're right about that, home run type of ability with over or higher, than 40 yards, 40 and a half yards. Because if that's a piece of your offense, then Clemson's going to do what they want. And that's the thing. How consistently will we see that? And again, because of the emergence, one game, but because of the emergence in Bryant Wesco and his ability to get deep, that's a big deal. And it's going to be really fun just to see what else opens up. Is the middle of the field wide open like it was against App? Is the run game going to be, whatever it wants to be? So that's a big differentiator to me. And that's a great transition because the next guy on our board here is Phil Maffa, both running backs back to back here. This is really telling to me, though, KG. The higher lower for Phil Maffa is 98.5 yards. A guy that's really electric. It's a lot of yards. The higher lower for Jordan Waters, 33.5 yards. That is crazy to look at, especially coming into this season. You probably thought those guys were the cream of the crop, some of the best in the entire league. And, Jordan just hasn't been able to get it going yet. Offensive line really struggling. So I don't know. Again, and, you're at the mercy of, is Clemson going to be ripping it downfield or are they going to try to run the ball? It's a fascinating thing when you go back in this. The surefire thing that I feel really good about is the over-under one touchdown, higher lower than one touchdown, KG. But they're not getting you a lot of credit. It's only 0.6 when it comes to the multiplier side.
Mm-hmm. Jordan Waters is such an interesting running back and an interesting player in this game because he's electric. And I was listening to Dabo's press conference yesterday, or he has been electric. He has that history. He's, he's top 3 ever at Duke in total yards or something like that.
Yeah.
He's a weapon, but they just have not been able to create lanes for him. And Mac, I think this O-line for NC State has really struggled. You can speak more to that, but it feels like the lack of being able to run the ball has been NC State's issue for so long. It's still there. And when you can't run it, it's really hard to enable your true freshman quarterback to feel calm and comfortable in an environment like Death Valley. So that's got to be the biggest key. If Jordan Waters hits the higher, over 33.5 rushing yards, that's basically nothing. If Jordan Waters is up near 100 rushing yards, that to me gives NC State a chance to win the game. And then of course there's Concepcion, if you want to look at his numbers too, but Concepcion is the X factor as is for NC State pretty much every game.
Right. Well, the interesting thing to look at as well is Jordan Waters had one rush. I believe it was in the third quarter for 1 yard, and then maybe came in one other time. And I don't know if he played. He didn't get a run after that. I don't know if he played. It was all Raphael. Yeah, I don't know if he played the rest of the game. So it is interesting, and maybe I don't know if he has a lingering injury or if they just were going with the hot hand that day. I'm not sure. It's really interesting to look at. So we will see on that. How about some pass catchers before we get out of here, KG? Looking at some other guys, KC, as you mentioned, higher, lower than 0.5 touchdowns. So do you think he's going to score or not? That's actually, so it says higher, and that's actually a 1.6 multiplier. So they're kind of baiting you. They may know something you don't. He might not be playing. He might be playing. How much is the injury? That's a little interesting. I think it's a little more telling. What do you think? Have you looked at it? Do you know what the receiving yards are?
Yeah, it's under 50.
Man, 42. That's crazy. Because this guy just gets yards. That's what he does. He just gets yards.
I just don't think he's healthy. That's the problem. Yeah. And it's such a bummer because Concepcion is one of our absolute favorite players to watch. Yeah. He's electric. Yeah. And, it also is tough when you don't really have a QB, or maybe you do. I mean, this could be the CJ Bailey coming out party. I don't know. But we saw that, we talked about Pitt a lot Monday. A lot of these pass catchers, you didn't really notice them last year because they didn't have a quarterback. And now they do. Yeah. So they're going to have to, if Concepcion is healthy and healthy enough to go, use him in the Wildcat sub, Mac. I don't know. Use Jordan Waters in the Wildcat. I feel like
do whatever you can.
throw the book at Clemson and just try to keep them off balance where they don't know what you're going to do because they don't have a lot of film on whatever you might be doing with CJ Bailey.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be fascinating. But guys, as KG said, go use our code. Jump on Fantasy Underdog Fantasy here. The easiest place to jump into fantasy sports. It's so fun. So many options. Literally every sport. We obviously focus on college football and the ACC, but there's a ton of things to really get involved, really get invested, and win a little cash. Just follow what KG says, and you'll be rich in a hurry. So use our code GMPOD. We'll get you up to $1,000 of bonus cash there. And really have a good time. Show us your picks, tag us in some stuff. We would love to see that. But that's it for us from today. So big shout out to Ross Taylor, again, SID at Clemson, and Bryant Wesco for their time. always grateful. And just to talk to that young cat, very exciting for the future. So we need y'all's help. Go over to YouTube, subscribe, jump on the channel, turn on your notifications. KG just told me about this. You would have got it today at about 5 o'clock that boom, we're live. We're going. We're doing this
Let
thing.
us annoy you at all times. Please.
Push notifications, turn them on social media, turn them on whatever, everything that you have. We want to do it. But appreciate you guys always. Jump in some comments. Tell us what you thought about this interview. And we will be back for more on Friday with all kinds of picks, all the games. Cannot wait. So until next time, we'll see y'all.